Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why Paul George needs to get out of OKC as fast as he can. And I'll tell you which James, LeBron or Harden, should win MVP tonight. Speak for Yourself starts now. Love it. All right, hello and welcome. Cowherd is off today, so I'm joined by Fox Sports Radio host Doug Gottlieb and a couple of Super Bowl champions, Brian Cox and Seth Joyner. All right, guys, let's start in the NFL, which according to multiple reports is planning to suspend Jameis Winston 3 games over an incident in 2016 that led to an Uber driver making allegations of sexual assault against the Buccaneers quarterback. There are a lot of conflicting reports about the details of that night, but Winston has a history of questionable behavior dating back to his time at Florida State. And guys, I think this is analogous to me to what happened to Ben Roethlisberger. In 2008, there were allegations, a civil case brought against Ben for an incident in Lake Tahoe. There were no criminal charges. In 2010, there were allegations about an incident in Georgia in a bar. There were no criminal charges. The NFL drew a line in the sand with Ben, hit him with a 6-game suspension. It got reduced to 4, and it really changed the course of Ben Roethlisberger's off-field narrative and behavior. Since 2010, he's avoided trouble. He's been nothing but a very good player for the Steelers. No more off-the-field incidents. That's why I think perhaps 3 games isn't enough here. I think the NFL should err on the side of being too harsh on Jameis Winston and sitting him down for more than perhaps 3 games. That way social media and other people won't try to extract revenge on Jameis because they felt he's been punished too little. Again, I know there have been no criminal charges in the Jameis Winston case, but I think 3 games may lead the NFL, particularly if additional information comes out, may leave the NFL with egg on its face like they had with Josh Brown, the kicker, with Ray Rice initially. I think they should err on doing too much rather than too little.
The problem is they need to slow down until they get all the facts. All these leaks about him being suspended, until you get all the facts. Like you said, you don't want to have another one of those situations where you suspend Ray Rice for 2 games, and then you see the video, and all of a sudden you got to go to a full season. I would much rather see them get all the facts, get everything straightened out, because there's conflicting reports about who was in the car and who wasn't in the car, and all these different things, all these different elements that will spell out exactly what happened. Now, if he's guilty of these, you might be right. The only thing you can do is sit him down, take away what he loves the most in order for him to wake up, because he's had way too many incidents, and he's got to understand, as the face of a franchise, he cannot continue to put himself in these compromising positions. Well,
look, I think the hard part is, and Roethlisberger also had the motorcycle thing, which, it's not his fault he got into a motorcycle accident, but you're the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why are you riding a motorcycle, especially without a helmet? And, of course, even after that, he had the 2 allegations against him. And Winston, it's not just the stuff at Florida State. It was also, the crab legs and whatever you think of that. It's a pattern of behavior here. Even the bizarre behavior when he did the eat the W thing. Like there's something that's not getting through to Jameis in terms of how we're viewing his behavior. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he hasn't been playing that well. He hasn't been playing up to his potential. And the other eerie part about the similarities is they're actually comparable as players, right? They're both big guys who hold on to the ball a little bit too long. They like to throw the ball deep downfield and have a tendency at times to force the ball into traffic. I'm with you, Jay, in that you should sit him down longer rather than earlier, if nothing else, to make a point. But when you look at the allegations, man, 5, 6 games for something that may or may not have happened, that it just feels like a long time. Like Ray Rice punched a woman.
Got it.
Right? I do think we have to be reasonable. It's a he said, she said, and there's a lot of things we don't know, and this is 2 years after the incident.
Right. There are some things that are comparable to Ben Roethlisberger, but let's not forget this happened over 2 years ago. And for this to come out now with the type of charades that are going on with the he said, she said, and not only that, I'm going to hire the same lawyer from the girl that was charged you rape or said you raped her at the University of Florida State. I'm going to get her lawyer. And so there's some stuff going on beneath the scenes that we don't know. The thing that I'd like to say in terms of being close to Ben Roethlisberger, okay, the difference is this is Jameis' first bad thing as a pro player. All the other stuff happened at Florida State. We talk about the crab legs. We talk about the standing on the table and yelling the vulgarities. We talk about the other girl coming out. And then we talk about this incident. You know, to me, the parents are the big issue. You don't see the parents in any of this stuff. You don't see them making any conversation. Where's the dad? Where's the mom? You know, at the draft day, you saw the dad and the mom draped around Jameis, but they've kind of been unseen and unheard when this stuff, you know, kind of comes to the forefront. For me, I'd like to see the parents take on more of a thing. We're looking at Jameis at 23. Ben Roethlisberger was 27, 28. Much different age, you know, the maturity process. Jameis has been to look at to say, this is who I can become if I can get on the straight path.
And I get your point about the parents, but you know just as well as I know, you know, the elation of being drafted in the NFL, you understand what happens in that household when you come from a less than affluent household.
You're the breadwinner.
All of a sudden, he becomes his dad's brother, his mom's husband, his brothers and sisters' father, okay? So no matter what the circumstances are, the parents aren't going to come forth and say or do anything to bite the hand that feeds them. So listen, if he wasn't raised right from the beginning, it's not going. That's not.
We don't know that.
Hold on,
but I'm just
Seth. I will say, because I think you've made some very real points, and so did you, Brian. I will say this: my mother bites my hand constantly, and trust me, I feed her well, very well. She bites my hand
because
constantly.
she raised you right.
No, I get it, and so I think that's Brian's point too. That a lot of times we're sitting back and we're demonizing the commissioner, Roger Goodell. Why is he coming down? Why is he coming down?
Instead of
and a lot of times it's because the family or the parents have let someone down. They're not coming down, and I find that's an interesting point. The guy, he's 24 years old. He's been having these incidents forever, and I haven't seen the parents step in here. And so now here he is at the mercy of Roger Goodell and the court of public opinion, and it's not going to treat him well.
Okay, well, first, there's two parts to it. I understand parents and how you're brought up. I will say that everyone who's followed Jameis back to Florida State, or even if you watch Hard Knocks, and I know it's a TV show, okay, in many ways he appears to be exactly what you want as leader of men. On the other hand, he has not been held responsible however he behaves in public. And I think what Jason's getting at is like, hey, dude, at some point you got to grow up. Okay, 23 years old, and I know his mom and dad need to be involved, but this is in Scottsdale. This isn't at home. Hey, you got to be a grown-up. You're the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and no one's ever held him accountable. Whatever happened with the crab legs, it's very possible that was a place that a lot of dudes at Florida State used to go in and get stuff and not have to pay for it. That's
not the quarterback.
My mama used to always say, the way you act in this house is the way you act out in the street. So you're going to act right in here.
So look, it's possible, you know, he could get a pass having lived in the real world of college sports to where we did get things for free. On the other hand, remember when he was suspended, but he still came out and he was throwing with the team? Like, Jimbo Fisher never held him accountable. The Buccaneers have never held him accountable. And at some point, he's got to get that lesson. And if not now, when? Like, how bad does it have to get? My problem with it is, I'm also with you guys in that it seems to be really fuzzy details. The 2 years removed. And one of the guys who's saying that he wasn't in the car is locked up for 15 years for rape. So it's really hard to believe he's a credible witness.
Right. I'm with you on the stage that he has to grow up and he has to become a man. But at 23, what did you know and what did you do? Like if I was in college in a time with Instagram and Facebook, I'd be in prison. Because some of the stuff I did that was just outright silly and arrogant and being funny with a bunch of guys living like locker room.
Brian, he was already accused of rape. Like I understand.
You said accused.
No, listen. It's hard because we have to assume that he did not, because 3 times essentially he was charged for it, even in Title IX court at Florida State, and nothing stuck to him. So I'm with you that he was just accused. My point is, if that's not a come to Jesus moment, that's not a wake up that things can go really, even if you did nothing wrong. I understand that we all would have gotten in trouble for silliness in college or silliness at 23, but it should be different for him considering what he was potentially facing at Florida State, and you think he would have matured by now.
All right, we got to move. All right, back in April, Tampa Bay picked up the 5th-year option on Winston's contract, and according to ESPN, the team's ownership is standing behind their quarterback until the NFL concludes its investigation and comes to a decision about his fate. Depending on how this all plays out, given Jameis's history, I think the Buccaneers should consider cutting ties with him for a lot of the reasons we're talking about here in terms of this dude doesn't seem to be getting the message. And the only thing that stops me from saying they should cut ties with him is Ben Roethlisberger. Is that Ben Roethlisberger went through the exact same issues at 27, 28 years old that Jameis is going through right now at 23 and 24. And it seems sitting Ben Roethlisberger down and someone in the Steelers providing the help that he needed seems to have put Ben on a different path. This is Jameis's last shot here. If this doesn't wake him up, nothing will, because I sit here and just struggle with his decision-making. How are you out partying with Brandon Banks, who at the time was awaiting to be tried on sexual battery and assault charges? How were y'all partying together in Scottsdale at any point that you're even in the mix with this guy? He's not a Florida State teammate. I don't know where they know each other from. Jameis's decision-making just seems very shoddy, and if the Buccaneers did cut ties with him, I wouldn't blame him.
The only support that I'm going to give to what you're saying is the fact that it was 2 years later, 2 years ago, like Brian said. Now, there's a lot of transformation that can happen in 2 years. You know, we're talking about something that we're 2 years removed from like it was yesterday, and that's just not the case. Should they move on from him? I want you to think about, you've got a head coach down there that's hanging. He's on the hot seat.
Sure.
Okay? The organization just made massive changes from a personnel standpoint, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, they've been loaded for the last year and a half. Now, you're going to tell me you're going to turn that over to Ryan Fitzpatrick? You're going to go and draft another quarterback next year and turn supposedly.
It's a very difficult football decision. You're absolutely right. But there are other factors beyond football in terms of if Jameis Winston has another mishap, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be trashed, ownership will be trashed, general managers, executives will be trashed, the head coach. All hell will break loose on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if the next mistake Jameis Winston makes.
If they don't win in the next year to 2 years, all hell's going to break loose, okay? So I feel like the organization
got to protect its image, man.
Listen, I feel like if Jameis, if he has another hiccup, then everybody who goes to bat for him, they're gone anyway. If they don't win, they're gone anyway, okay? So the organization has got $20 million locked into this kid. Is guaranteed money next year if they pick up when they pick
choice,
up.
But they consider.
But let me interject here. In the NFL, it's about wins and losses. Nothing else really matters. So to have a quarterback that's a character that is not liked or has been in trouble, how many times is he going to get in trouble before we say that's his character? At some point, they have to get their support staff together and get this kid on the right path. They got the blueprint in Roethlisberger in front of them. But this guy is, having coached in that division in Atlanta, this guy is the best competitor. He's a really good leader. The game's on the line. He wants the ball in his hand. There is no way in the world that Tampa Bay doesn't sign him to a new contract because you got a guy that can lead you to the promised land. Now, having said that, I want to make sure in no way, shape, or form people are saying that I'm suggesting that you should keep a guy that's done something inappropriately to a woman. I'm not saying that. I'm talking purely from a football standpoint on how you get a guy and you say, we haven't won around here for a long time, who can lead us to a championship? Jameis Winston can lead you to that. So if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm getting my support staff together and say it's time for you guys to earn your money. This guy's going to be here and you're going to make him the person that we want to see off the field and that people can be proud of from this area. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Here's the one problem that we haven't yet addressed is that he wasn't good last year. And in several moments to which you wanted, all right, this is the year to which Jameis Winston becomes what we thought he could be out of Florida State. So look, he was, and then you bring in the idea, if you're pot committed with him, you go to bat for a guy who, if he is suspended, it's the NFL is saying, we believe he lied. Okay, he lied to his bosses. So I'm with you, Jason. I consider it. I don't. Okay, I give a guy a lot of rope, and he may hang himself. He may hang all of us with it.
Right.
But I do think you consider it, one, hasn't been as good as you would have wanted, and two, and maybe most importantly, if the NFL believes it's more, more probable than not, that they believe he lied in the investigation, and he got Ronald Darby to lie for him in the investigation. That's what they're saying. They're saying, like, look, the phone evidence, the electronic evidence doesn't match up with what you're saying that you weren't in the car by yourself. If that's accurate, now you have a guy who isn't, won't tell the truth, isn't playing up to snuff, and isn't getting the message. I consider it. I keep him, but I consider it.
Brian, I get that video of him melting down at the end of the final regular season game. Because I really, Brian, I want your reaction to this video of the meltdown at the end of this game. Because everybody's talking about what a great leader Jameis is.
Right.
He melted down and made a fool out of himself in the final game of the year. They basically had to get tossed out of the game. He comes onto the field. How is that consistent with the leader that you see?
How's Tom Brady cussing Josh McDaniels out on the sideline consistent with the leadership that we see? It's no different. We give Tom Brady a pass for cussing.
Brian, watch
No,
this.
it's not different.
Yes, it is.
It's not different. The guy's competitive, and what did he do? He went up to the official after the game and apologized. He apologized in the press conference. I can't do this. My emotions got the best of me. But when Tom Brady stands on the sideline and cuts Josh McDaniels out, we give him a pass and say that's okay. Is that all right?
He just shoved a staff member. He's
Sheldon
going on
Walls.
to the Look, and trust me, I watched this video and watched the game and came away like, damn, this dude really cares.
Right.
And it made me more invested in believing that he does have a chance to be great. But when you put the whole thing in context, it's just more bad decision-making from Jameis Winston.
Two things. One, I would argue the fact that he played poorly last year. Their defense was at an all-time worst. It was one of the worst in the history of the game. They were decimated on defense. He didn't play as well as he should. But when you talk about this draft, when you talk about him being one of the great young stars of the NFL, he's going to be that. I was in that division. We played against him 6 times when I was in Atlanta. I think we went 4-2 or 3-3 or something. The guy has all the stuff. The players believe in him when he's in the locker room. They believe him when he walks into the huddle. This guy has
59 turnovers in 45 games.
Nice, fine. We can also say same thing about Steve Young. Everybody forget about what he was at Tampa Bay, but yet he's Hall of Famer. Nobody talks about it. When he was
Bill
at Tampa
Walsh isn't walking through that door.
Yeah, they don't have to. At the same time, I would just
Jerry Rice isn't playing in Tampa.
I would just say this. The guy's young. The guy deserves a second chance. I'm not making any mistakes for all the things that he's had in his past. But everybody has a past. And so it's up to us, instead of ostracizing the guy, because I've been in this position many a times, instead of ostracizing him, let's embrace him and say, hey, man, you got to do better. You're going to do better. Somebody has to be close enough to him that can get to him to speak that language to him to slow him down. For me, it was Joe Green. When Joe Green started talking to me, the world started making sense. When I went to New York and Bill Parcells started talking to me, the world started to make sense. When you know better, you do better, as has been said. He doesn't know better yet. Some of the stuff that he's done, alcohol was involved. Some of that stuff, we don't know all the circumstances surrounding this thing. But if I'm your friend and I'm out with you, you're not putting me in Uber and sending me away. We're all going home together. We came together, we're leaving together. That could have possibly stopped this incident from happening if somebody would have stepped up in that situation and said that. But for me, if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm signing this kid because from what I've seen in the 3 years as a player, if they fix this surrounding cast a little bit and fix the defense, this is a Super Bowl contending team. And we all know the NFL does not turn their back on people that can help win.
At Buffalo Wild Wings, we'll admit that we often go overboard with our limited time offerings. We just can't help ourselves. Take our new signature sampler. For $15, you get wings and 3 shareable options like fried pickles or cheese curds. Then there's our aptly named over-the-top nachos, a literal mountain of crispy tortilla chips loaded with your choice of pulled pork or honey barbecue grilled chicken, corn, jalapenos, and more. Then top it all off with our new platinum margarita. Go overboard with us today at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly. All right, welcome back. Brian Cox and Seth Joyner are back. Let's move to the NFL, where Chiefs offensive lineman Laurent Duvernay-Tardif just did something incredible, graduating from medical school after taking classes in the offseason for the last several years. Even still, the NFL is refusing to allow the first player ever / doctor football player to put MD on the back of his jersey, which LDT, as I'm calling him, requested earlier this year. This is somewhat lighthearted, but there's some truth in it. I would let guys have fun on the back of their jerseys before I would let them do all the gyrations and touchdown celebrations. I would rather see guys with nicknames on the back of their jersey or whatever on the back of their jerseys. As long as it doesn't get political and divisive, you should damn near let people put whatever they want on the back of their jersey. I'd rather do that than to see Antonio Brown gyrating on the field. And so I don't get what the NFL's thinking here. The guy wants to put MD on the back of his jersey. He's earned it. Why be a stickler on this?
Did you see the back of his jersey? He ain't got no more room for nothing on the back of that jersey, man. No, I mean, just jokingly, I can see both sides. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous accomplishment to be able to finish to get your medical degree while you're playing professional football. Some people can't even do one or the other, you know. So I get him wanting to have it, but I can also see the NFL side of this.
Which is?
Because where do you draw the line? I mean, do you want this to turn into the XFL back of jerseys all over again?
Why not?
Well, I would just take this side. I'm on the side of the NFL right now. And for me,
I can't believe this.
For me, it's not a suffix. He's not a senior or a junior, or they don't have MD as a suffix.
I don't like those either, by the way.
For me, well, I like it because my son's birthday today, he's a Carolina Panther, so he got Cox Jr. on his jersey. but for me, MD is something that you accomplish. Great accomplishment. Great. But that's not your name. That's who you are. You're a medical doctor now. You can say that. And that's something to be very, very proud of, but that's not your name.
I'm blown away that both of y'all somehow see any wisdom in what the NFL is doing.
I'm straddling the fence.
Not me. I'm straight on the NFL side.
He's on the other side. I'm straddling the fence.
This is why they call it the no fun league.
But you have to have
celebrations. No celebrations is no fun to me. I mean, listen,
I want to gyrate.
As hard as you work.
I scored a touchdown. I want to gyrate.
As hard as you work in the game, to not to be able to allow your emotions to pour out when you do something great.
The only way to pour out your emotions is to gyrate the way Antonio Brown does.
So let me ask you a question.
That's orchestrated and calculated.
Did you have a problem with Billy White Shoes Johnson?
No, because that was fun, and he was the only one doing it. Now everybody's doing it. And Billy White Shoes Johnson wasn't some sexual gyration.
So move forward a generation and realize that these kids they're not wired like we are. Like now, if somebody did that little hip gyration when we were playing, they was going to pay for it. You understand what I'm saying? But this is a different generation, man. It's a different generation.
It's like I love the icky shuffle. But again, all those things are harmless. But to me, the easy solution for the NFL, players want a platform, and we can't do this, we can't do that. You'd satisfy a lot of players if they could put Pookie on the back of their jersey.
No, I don't want to play against Pookie.
Or Ray on the back of his jersey.
So what is the announcer's supposed Pookie on the tackle?
No, you call him by his real name. No one cares what's on the back of the name. It would just be fun.
If I'm doing the game and he got Pookie on the back of his jersey, I'm calling him Pookie.
Hi, I'm Alexi Lawless. I used to play soccer back in the 1900s for the U.S. Now you can find me talking about soccer this summer during the World Cup on Fox. Now through July 15th, you can get daily FIFA World Cup updates from me through your Alexa-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the Fox Sports Flash Briefing, and you'll get the latest tournament news straight from Russia. Alexa and Alexi. Now that's a winning team. Don't forget to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup all tournament long live on Fox and FS1.
All right, welcome back to the show. Doug Gottlieb is back. We're joined now by NBA insider Rick Bucher and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Oklahoma City. where Carmelo Anthony surprised nobody by opting into the final year of his contract with a salary just shy of $28 million. Melo took to Instagram to gloat a little, posting a pic of himself in Germany with the caption, "Oh, you mad, huh?" It's possible OKC could still buy out Carmelo, but if he's with the team next season, I think Paul George is making a hell of a mistake here, sticking with OKC. If Carmelo signing or taking that $28 million is a guarantee, they're not going to be any good. They won't win in the postseason. And what's the point of sticking in OKC for another year with the OKC mess? We saw it last year. Why do it again? Why not just get the hell out of there and find out where LeBron is going and meet LeBron in that city?
I want to disagree with you. I really do. Because I want to believe that Carmelo Anthony's smart enough to know if he would sacrifice his ego and come off the bench, they could find mismatches for him, and he could still give you 18 a game and fit into the right matchups. I want to believe that. The problem is, I read the Instagram post, and he's basically saying, I'm mellow, it's got me this far, and I'll ride this thing into the sunset. He ain't coming off the bench, he's not playing any defense, he's washed as a star, and he's the only one that apparently doesn't have the wherewithal to know it. I completely agree with you. Get the hell out of Oklahoma City. That is a sinking ship that was built with tons of young talent and depth, and now they are front-loaded with stars that don't fit together and lost in the first round.
Well, let's face it, they put it together in order to get Russell Westbrook to sign the extension. So once they did that, mission accomplished. Now, there's a simple question that Paul George has to ask himself in this. Are they better with Carmelo Anthony, or are they worse? His signing makes them better. If he leaves, they don't have an option to get better. They don't have cap room to change that team. And you guys may look at Carmelo and
you say with Carmelo they're better.
Without question. Are you saying you take Carmelo Anthony off that team and you leave it as is? That is a better team without
Addition
Carmelo
by subtraction.
Anthony.
Right.
No chance. No chance.
Why?
No chance.
Did you watch him play this year?
Absolutely, I watched
Who's he
him play
guard?
that first year. They need to convince him that
His
he needs to
shot's
play
gonna get
power
better.
forward. Look, he's averaging 16. Where are you going to get that? You can look at what Carmelo has been.
How much has he given
and
up?
what you want him to be.
How much has he given up? Rick,
do you mean?
how many teams does he have to go through? How many teams coaches does he have to go through in New York where it's the coach's problem, the general manager's problem, it's this guy's problem, it's that guy's problem?
There is the other end of the floor is what Doug is talking about.
This was a playoff team, right?
Yes, but it was a playoff team before he got there. They improved by one game.
Okay, but we're not
Adding
looking
Paul
at,
George and Carmelo Anthony, they improved by one game.
Again,
they got worse with
again,
better players.
Again, you take him off of that team, they're not a better team. And Paul George views it that way. You two may look at it and say, he's not the player he's always been.
That's almost like saying taking me off the scale and the scale doesn't get lighter. I mean, literally, that's what that sounds like.
So, Rick, here's the big issue with Paul George. He has to decide, do I want to play with a selfish player, Russell Westbrook, for the next 4 or 5 years?
Okay, hold on a second.
No, wait.
But
Or do
you
you
are
want to play
saying-
with the selfless LeBron James, who averaged 9 assists per game, carried a pretty inferior Cavs squad to the finals? And listen, if you want to argue, hey, he'll make $45 million more staying in OKC, that's great, because you're going to have a lot of extra summer vacation time when you're out in the first round of the playoffs every year, Rick.
Paul George does not look at him that way. Russell Westbrook does not look at that way. I get that there are critics on the outside that look at Melo and say he is this. Paul George doesn't view it that way. Let's take the flip
How
side.
does Rick Bucher see it?
I have hope still that Carmelo Anthony will understand.
What is he, 42?
No, listen.
And he's going to change?
That's the thing, though, Rick. I wanted to disagree with Jason.
Right.
I wanted to see an Instagram post from Germany going like, so happy to be back. PG, come back. Let's go and win 60 games.
Well,
that's not
he's
his
not
style.
going to change his personality.
Because he's not going to change who he is.
He's not gonna change the way he
same
plays
guy.
on the court,
He's not
Rick.
coming off the bench. He's not changing roles. He's not doing anything other than what he's done to this point, which has made him a lot of money, but has exactly zero in terms of winning in the postseason.
Regardless of any of that, if you take him away, look at the message that you're sending Paul George. If Carmelo Anthony says, I don't care about $28 million, I know I can't get that on the open market. I want out of Oklahoma City. I am out of here. What message does that send Paul George about Oklahoma City and that team?
What is the message? Are you talking about, look, they were sending the messages. They wanted him gone. There's a reason the stories were leaked that he might he might opt out. That was from Oklahoma City's management.
Understood. Look, among all the guys that are at this table right now, I was the one guy who was there during their playoff round against Utah. I was in that locker room. I talked to Paul George. I talked to Carmelo Anthony. I saw the dynamic. You guys might not like Carmelo Anthony, and you might not like him in that
battle.
No, but that makes a difference.
I don't know.
If Paul George wants to play with Carmelo Anthony, then Carmelo Anthony staying in Oklahoma City is a plus. And it doesn't matter what the view on the outside is.
Okay, but Rick, I love your point that you were there and you understand the dynamics better than we do. I'm going to accept that. I just don't think there's a logical argument to be made that Carmelo makes them better, and they would not potentially have more upside if Carmelo's not there. Maybe Russell Westbrook adjusts, Paul George adjusts, Steven Adams plays a bigger role. Other pieces around them make up for the fact that Carmelo's atrocious on the defensive end, and on the offensive end, he just wants to stand around, and until he catches the ball, the offense really hasn't started.
You are asking Carmelo Anthony to make a transformation here.
Yeah.
He's playing a different position. He's playing a different role. I am going to give him more than this past year in Oklahoma City
He's 35 or 36
to be able to.
Carmelo and Westbrook
age.
or LeBron. I mean, that's what you're looking at?
Kawhi Leonard's future is still up in the air since demanding a trade a couple of weeks ago. Kawhi and Greg Popovich have been at odds for months, and now a high-profile former Spur, Bruce Bowen, is siding with Pop, saying that Kawhi has done nothing but make excuses all season.
First, it was, well, I was misdiagnosed. Look here, you got $18 million this year, and you think that they're trying to rush you? You didn't play, for the most part, a full season this year, and you're the go-to guy. You're the franchise, and you want to say that they didn't have your best interest at heart? Are you kidding me? Well, I think he's getting bad advice. I think what you're starting to see now is, an individual given a certain amount of advice, and it's not the right advice. Here it is. You were protected in San Antonio. You were able to come up during a time where you still could lean on Tim, Tony, and Manu. Not one time has Kawhi come out and said anything to the effect of, you know what, hey, I really enjoy being in San Antonio, or I can't stand what's going on here in San Antonio. Not one time has he said anything.
Listen, I don't disagree with anything Bruce Bowen just said. I just don't get why he's saying it. He works for the Clippers television broadcast, and he's a former San Antonio Spur and connected to that organization. How are the Clippers or Spurs helped in any way by those comments? I can't disagree with what he said, but I just don't understand. Where's his loyalties? The Clippers would love to have a shot at Kawhi, and the Spurs would love to have a shot at keeping Kawhi. And this dude just threw gasoline on everybody. And a match.
I agree, but this is what all of the old Spurs are doing, right? That's what, Tony Parker saying, I had the same injury, it was 100 times worse, and I'm back playing.
Agreed.
It's like they all got together and like, F this dude. He's not a Spur. He doesn't appreciate it. We could have won another. I think, I truly believe this, and Rick, you can speak to this.
Yeah.
I think most guys in the league thought you could get the Warriors this year, that their bench wasn't as good, that though the big three had learned to play together, Draymond couldn't make a shot, whether it was his shoulder or his head, or maybe a combination of the two, and they didn't really have a fifth great player, especially when Iguodala got hurt. And even when he was hurt, that was not the team that won 73 or the team that ran through the playoffs last year. And I think they thought, we got a shot. LaMarcus has finally bought in. If he's right, we got a shot. Houston could have beaten them had Chris Paul been healthy. And I think they're ticked that they had one last shot, and here's a guy that had a little thigh problem that Tony Parker came through. The problem is, why is he saying it? And forget about the Clippers. If you really are a loyal San Antonio Spur, right? If you cut him open and he bleeds black and silver, this is not the message that's working. It didn't work all year. It's not going to work now.
Yeah, but the truth is, this is not about trying to salvage this relationship between Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs. That ship has sailed. There's no getting him back in the camp. From what I've been told, this is about Kawhi Leonard just doesn't want to play for Greg Popovich anymore. It was okay playing for Pop and doing the San Antonio Spur way when you're winning championships. He hasn't won a championship since 2014. That's 4 long years doing it the San Antonio way. My only issue with Kawhi is just tell us. Tell us why you're leaving.
I agree with Bowen.
Don't tell us it's like, I don't trust the franchise anymore because of how the injury was handled. and I want to go to LA. Okay, wait. What is it? You want to go to LA or you don't trust the franchise anymore? Because if you don't trust the franchise anymore, then you want to go someplace where you can win and where you're comfortable and you're not targeting a destination. He wants to ultimately go to LA because that's where he wants to live. That's where he wants to play. And if you're going to, look, if I'm not going to win championships, I might as well live and play where I want to live and play. And San Antonio just isn't it.
So Popovich, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and now Bruce Bowen, all taking shots at Kawhi Leonard. You guys know Bruce Bowen's number was retired by the Spurs. Okay? He was made by Popovich. Popovich made Bruce Bowen who he is. He's on TV today because of Greg Popovich. Turned him into an all-defensive player. He was a 5-time first-team all-defensive player. And I'm not surprised at all. This is how the Spurs operate. Are you going to take shots at us? We're like the mafia family. You're going to come after us, Kawhi? You want to run out of town? Well, you're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with the bad-mouthing in the press.
You know what? We should acknowledge the fact that the Iron Dome in San Antonio has been pierced. The fact that we're talking about them in the same way we're talking about the New England Patriots the problems that they have, right? And so all of the Spurs are getting together to go up there and patch that dome and go, it's not the organization, it's not San Antonio, it's that guy.
I also think, and I'm sorry we got to go here, Doug, but that Bruce Bowen is saying this because I think he feels like Kawhi is a bit pop-made and that when he goes someplace else, he won't be as good without the pop system. I believe that's what Popovich believes. I think Bruce Bowen and these guys are trying to shake Kawhi to say, you think the grass is green, but wait till you get out of pop system and find out what the NBA is like. You won't be the same player. All right, welcome back. Doug Gottlieb, Rick Bucher, and Jason McIntyre are back. Let's continue with the NBA, where James Harden is expected to beat out LeBron James for the MVP at tonight's NBA Awards, which would make this the 5th straight year the best basketball player on earth will fail to win the award. When you stack up LeBron and Harden head-to-head, LeBron does appear to have an advantage, topping Harden in almost every category, but losing in what may be the most important one, victories during the regular season. And as much as I love victories during the regular season, I'm not a huge James Harden guy. I think it's a nice little gimmick that works in the regular season, and then it gets to postseason and you kind of see his true value, and his true value just doesn't come close to matching LeBron James. LeBron is getting cheated out of his 5th MVP award, and he's probably been cheated out of a couple of more. It's a little bit unfair to LeBron.
Okay, what else is unfair is that graphic is completely unfair, right? You're doing on total points. James Harden played 10 games less than LeBron James, right? So, yeah, in totals, absolutely. LeBron James also led the league in minutes, so he accumulated more stats. Like, it's completely...
Playing more games doesn't matter when you calculate value.
Well, no. When you calculate, you said he has more points and he's more rebounds. He has more assists.
Yeah. If you base it on numbers, he controls the ball all the time. Chris Paul still gets a piece of it. So the numbers are always going to be skewed toward LeBron James.
Yes. So again, I'm with you.
82 games aren't more valuable than 72?
Again, it's all in context. I mean,
how many ever more minutes LeBron played isn't more valuable?
Didn't he go through 5 weeks when he had the lowest plus-minus in the entire league?
And
that did happen this year, right? And he's also, let's be honest, LeBron is also living on a pass-earned reputation defensively. He took a lot of plays off.
As many as James Harden.
Yeah, let's not act like James Harden is a defensive superstar.
I'm not. But what we do is we assume LeBron James plays defense, James Harden does not. And though I can't watch James Harden play, okay? I'm the king of I understand how good he is. I understand how hard he is to stop. I can't watch him play, okay? And James Harden I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And LeBron James is a better player, but he was not for a good portion of time during this regular season. Look, if we really want to do value, Anthony Davis should be in this conversation. Plays both ends, scores. His other best player in the team got hurt, and they found a way to get better. We could do Damian Lillard, who had an incredible second half of the season and finally started to play defense. But if you ask who had the best season, which is what this is, in the regular season, the Rockets, that's what the MVP is. The Rockets had the best record, and James Harden had an outstanding year. He has been robbed.
Carried for stretches by Chris Paul.
No, he wasn't. Chris Paul was hurt half the year.
Most valuable. For me, that's like if you take them off the team, what's their value? And we know the Cavs are a 25-win team without LeBron. You take James Harden off the Rockets, they're probably still in the playoffs, 40, 45 wins. But I'm going to blame the NBA for this. If they gave out this award after the end of the regular season, before the playoffs began, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. Harden was excellent in the regular season.
Of course
Let me add
not.
this. Let me add this. It's difficult for fans, media, everybody to divorce the regular season from the playoffs. When you just see LeBron go to the finals with Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, it's impressive, right? James Harden got bounced, and what happened to him in Game 6 and 7? Rick, do you remember? I've forgotten. I mean, James Harden was awful against the Warriors.
And based on that, you'd say that James Harden's not even the most valuable player on his own team. That Chris Paul, once he left, they couldn't beat the Warriors and didn't look like they had a chance. They ended up losing the series. So I'm with you on that. And the NBA would help us if they took your definition, or they took any definition and said, this is what most valuable player is. They don't, because then we continue to have debates because everybody has their own definition of it. I give LeBron James the MVP. It's sort of, you just step back. Don't give me the numbers. Don't give me anything else. You look at who's the most important player, who has the most effect on the game at all times.
No question.
It's LeBron James. The other part is that he was genius. In the 5-6 weeks when he had the worst plus minus, he dogged it. He forced them to change that team. I don't know if the original team goes to the finals. He basically disappeared on them, forced them to change up the deck, and ultimately put a team together that wasn't good enough to win a championship, but certainly was good enough to get them to the finals. He not only was the most valuable player, he was the most valuable general manager.
I think what's amazing about the awards thing is we do this all the time now.
Why are
in
you
sports.
dodging the beauty that he just said? Respond to what he just said.
Well, I actually disagree with I agree with him that he dogged it. I would disagree. I think they'd be better in the postseason because you had all those veteran players who were struggling to get along, and they would have made shots and made. I mean, like
Isaiah Thomas making shots.
I thought that too,
Yes,
but the bottom
yes, he
line
actually
is
would've.
he took that young team to the finals. They got there. I think they could have been better, but I'm not convinced. I'm not even sure all those old bodies would have made it to the finish line.
All right,
yeah, but you wouldn't if like Dwayne Wade in an NBA Finals, you wouldn't have been able to count on him more than
if
Rodney
gotta
Hood.
go. All right, welcome back. Seth joining us here for Last Call. Let's move to Jerry Rice, who just appeared in ESPN the magazine's Body issue and said that at 55 years old, he believes he can still play in the NFL. Seth, is he delusional, or is he taking a little pot shot at the NFL?
It might be a little bit of both. You know, I mean, the game has changed. I can't imagine Jerry Rice in today's game with guys not being able to bump at the line of scrimmage. But at the same time, at 50, how old is he?
55.
55 years old? Come on, man. I play basketball with my son. I got to watch, make sure I don't step the wrong way and tweak something.
I think he's also saying you can run over the middle unmolested now in the NFL. And I think he's taking a little pot shot.
A little bit.
The game's easy.
A little bit.
All right, to Nick Foles, whose new book about his improbable run to the Super Bowl comes out tomorrow. The book is called Believe It, and I can't believe Foles stayed in Philly as a backup to Carson Wentz. All right, Seth, you think Wentz will read Foles' book?
Well, absolutely. They're great friends. There's no animosity between the two of them. Nick Foles,
Why would he be upset?
Well,
Nick Foles is too wimpy to go after his job.
Nick Foles knows that it's Carson Wentz's job. He knows that he's the future of the franchise. Plus,
One guy knows he's MVP of the Super Bowl, and the other guy's not.
They had him under contract for another year, so it wasn't.
Some guy wasn't man enough to go take Wentz's job like he should have.
Because he can.
See you tomorrow.